Hey, what's up everyone? This evening on Healthy Kids Simple Solutions, episode 15, we're talking about something super common in kids today, and that is reading comprehension issues. And so many kids that I see in the office today have these reading comprehension issues. So what I'm going over are what are the most common reasons I see kids struggling with these issues, what those are, and what's happening with their eyes is they're very jumpy and they're not able to move in a coordinated fashion and work together. So if you imagine their eyes supposed to be tracking very smoothly like this, and instead they may be kind of jerky and jumping around and not able to smoothly track that line. So why is that? It might be that they're tracking, very, very jerky, or it might be that they're tracking and then it kind of moves around and jumps up a line. And you can imagine that would be really hard for a kid to comprehend what they're reading if their eyes are not tracking the way that they should. So, what is this invisible barrier? What's making their eyes behave that way? Most commonly, I actually see it stemming from their development within the first year of life. And if something wasn't developed properly at that time, it can be contributing to that issue. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. Most commonly, what I've found why kids' eyes aren't moving the way that they should. I'm going to be covering that, and then I'm going to be looking for 5 parents who want to get their kid assessed for something called primitive reflexes and do a complementary primitive reflex assessment to see if that's what's contributing to their reading comprehension issues. So let's actually get into it. Why aren't kids' eyes able to work and track properly? One of the biggest things that I see contributing to that is something called infant reflexes. So what these infant reflexes are, they're reflexes that you're born with, and then they're there to just kind of kickstart everything. One second, I have something pop up on my screen. They're there to just kind of kickstart everything, they get everything going, and then at about 6 months of age, they fall away, and then your brain takes off from there. But in these kids, what happens is at that 6-month mark, they're supposed to kick these reflexes, they don't, they hold on to them, and then they essentially are going to hold on to them forever, and say they're 8 or 9 or 10 or however old they are now, and they still have them, they're still holding on to them. That's what's going to be contributing to this issue. So the first one that I see in every kid that I've seen come into the office that has reading comprehension issues has an ATNR. So it's very highly correlated. So what that is an ATNR is an asymmetric tonic neck reflex. When you're born, if you turn an infant's head this way, they go like this. And the reason that that's important, or the reason that that has anything to do with your eyes, is because when you turn their head this way and they start extending that arm out, what they're doing is their eyes are following that arm out, and it helps develop eye tracking in this plane. So if that reflex does not go away, they're going to struggle with eye movement in the horizontal plane, so that can be where that jumpiness comes from. They can also have difficulty crossing the midline. So if you picture your eyes moving across the page, once they get to this midline point, their eyes are going to jump. They're going to skip a line, they're going to jump up, and it's very subtle, but that's going to cause a lot of issues with their reading and reading comprehension issues. So this infant reflex, they have it as an infant. It should go away by 6 months of age, and you never even really know know nothing of it. But with these kids, it sticks around. So then what we do in the office is we do a primitive reflex assessment, see if they have that reflex that's causing their eyes to have an issue moving in this plane. So that's what the ATNR is. They have issues crossing that midline, and also what that means when you can't cross the midline properly if you have this ATNR is your left and right brain, they can't communicate to each other. And the reason that's an issue with reading is because one side of the brain is primarily focused on reading the actual word, and the other part of the brain is more concerned with comprehending what that means. So if your brains can't talk to each other, the left and right side, it's going to have a lot of issue with reading comprehension. You need both hemispheres working and talking to each other while you're reading, or otherwise it's going to be an issue. So that's primarily what's going on as far as the ATNR and their eyes not being able to work in this plane. And then after that, you have a symmetric tonic neck reflex. It's an STNR. And if you notice when babies are about to start to crawl, that's when they should get rid of the ATNR, and then they start to develop the STNR. And what that is they'll get on their hands and knees, like all fours, and it's like they're almost ready to crawl, but they just kind of sit there and they just rock back and forth. That is them developing the STNR. That's what the symmetric tonic neck reflex is. If you imagine the baby on the ground like this, they bend their head down and their arms bend, and then they extend their head up and their arms reflexively go this way. So the ATNR, you go like this and your eyes track your arm going out this way. The STNR, you look down, you bend your hands, and the reason that helps develop reading and eye movement and vision is because when you look down, you're focused on near vision, the floor, your hands in front of you, and then when you look up, you are focusing more on far vision. So you really work on developing near to far and near to far, and that's why kids that have this STNR, if they still have it, they may have had issues with hand-eye coordination or tracking a ball coming in and catching it because it's starting out far and then it comes near and near and near and then you have to catch it. So the reason that they struggle with that is because if the STNR is there, the STNR controls eye movements in this plane and it controls near to far. So if you're looking at your paper and then at the blackboard and then at the paper and then at the blackboard, that's the near to far, and then the ATNR is tracking in this way. So you need both of those remediated and gone for you to be able to read properly. And if they're still there, they cause a ton of issues in these kids with reading comprehension problems. So those are the two most common primitive reflexes, without a doubt, that I see in kids with reading comprehension issues. So what I'm looking for right now are 5 parents who want to have a complimentary primitive reflex assessment for their child and see if that's what's contributing to their reading comprehension difficulties. So the way you can do that is you can message us. There will be a send message link below this video, or you can call our office at 402-504-4676. And all you have to do is just say, hey, I watched that video about reading comprehension. I want to be one of those spots that gets the complimentary primitive reflex assessment. Then we'll get you set up with that and see if they have these reflexes, and if they do, then that's most likely contributing to their eye tracking. And you can do this even if you are tracking their thumb. If you make them track your thumb side to side, you might even see that they're skipping, or when they get to the midline, it kind of jumps a little bit. So, like I said, these 2 primitive reflexes absolutely contribute to reading comprehension difficulties because they can't. It's almost like there's an invisible barrier there that's not letting their eyes work the way that they should. So these kids absolutely hate reading, which stinks because I love reading and I learn so much from reading, and I know how much school depends on reading. And if you can't do it well, or if your eyes are not working with your brain the way that they should, and that these primitive reflexes are kind of holding you back, then that's going to be a huge hurdle all the way through school and post high school, college, if they decide to do that. So it's just best to take care of it as young as possible. But the cool thing is at any age you can get rid of these. So the first step is just finding out if they have primitive reflexes. So that's what we're offering for the 5 people that want to take advantage of that. So I hope you got something out of this. Those are the 2 most common primitive reflexes that I see in kids that have reading comprehension issues: the ATNR, which is an asymmetric tonic neck reflex, and the STNR, which is a symmetric tonic neck reflex, because they both help develop your vision and eye tracking. So that's what I have for episode 15 of Healthy Kids Simple Solutions. I will see you guys tomorrow evening for episode 16, so I hope to see you then. Have a great evening.